And it is so great to have you here today. It's a special edition of News Talk. We're on the road, so to speak. We're out in the field. We're in Silver Spring, just outside the Silver Spring Civic Building at One Veterans Plaza. A beautiful spring day, I might add. No excuse for people not to come out and vote. The Maryland primary on the calendar is Tuesday, April 26th. But get this, early voting is underway now. The doors opened at 10 a.m. this morning. We were there when they let the first voters in, and there was a line of people eager to get in and cast their ballots for President, for Senate, for the House of Representatives. And check out all the signs behind me. You can see all the campaigns have a presence here. They know that people are going to cast ballots early. A lot of people, because of the convenience or an eagerness to take part in the process, not going to wait until Election Day. They want in. They want their say now. So for the House races, the Senate races, the presidential race, all of it, the signs are here, and behind me there are volunteers with literature, and we're going to be talking not only with volunteers for the different campaigns, we're going to be talking with some of the candidates as well. So a very exciting time. This race that began in Iowa, went to New Hampshire, and has been to the South and the Midwest, all around the country. It is now here in the state of Maryland. Let's bring in our first of several guests. Jim Shalleck is head of the Montgomery County Board of Elections. Come on in, Jim. It's great having you here. Thanks very much for your time. This is for people like you and me and most of the people watching us now, for political junkies, people interested in our democracy. This is incredibly exciting.
I'm very excited. This is thrilling. We have 10 early voting sites in Montgomery County. We had a big turnout the minute the doors opened. People are excited. Usually the presidential elections are over by the time Maryland has a primary. This year the presidential election is on fire. It's exciting. We have a tight Senate race. We have congressional races. I really want people to come out and vote early. We have new voting machines. They're very easy to use, and we're excited that people can come for a week to vote early between 10 a.m. and 8 p.m., and we have a new site in Potomac. So come out and vote. It's exciting. We're going to pick our next president.
It's a considerable window, as you sort of allude to already, in terms of the number of days where people can participate in early voting in Maryland and the hours that the doors are open. It's a great opportunity for people to do something very important at a time that they can fit into their day and their schedule.
Exactly, Bruce. 10 in the morning till 8 at night, from today until the 21st, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m.
So there is a week from the 21st to the primary day, slightly less, but there you kind of close the doors on early voting and prepare then for the primary itself.
Right. Early voting stops at 8 o'clock on the 21st, but we're open Saturday and Sunday this week. So come out and vote. There's no excuse not to vote. And you can vote at any one of the 10 sites if you're a registered voter in Montgomery County.
So in other words, we're in Silver Spring, and of course there are early voting centers in Prince George's and I think all over the state. So if I live in Frederick and work in Bethesda, can I vote can I go into any early voting center?
You can, but we're basically designed for because you have to vote a provisional ballot if you're not from the county.
So it is better to go to your home?
Yes, you want to go to your home county early voting site because we have the ballot styles, the different ballot styles, the different candidates for the district you live in. So come to your voting sites in the county. Statewide, you got to vote provisional because you're not a resident of that county.
What is it? Did you have a chance to interact at all, or did you just get a flavor for the people who were here? I don't know. What time did people start queuing up, and why? Why? What did you infer or glean as why? We've all been hearing and following the campaign, right?
I know.
This is the moment when you can say, I like this one, that one, etc. It's participating versus just observing, etc. What's happening that there were people lined up here this morning?
Bruce, I would say maybe 40, 50 people lined up when we opened the doors. People started lining up at 8:30, and they were excited. They were talking about Trump and Cruz and Bernie and Hillary. The national election, the national spotlight is right here in Montgomery County, Maryland, and it's very exciting.
And people can go online. They can go to your website, the Prince George's website, wherever they live. Go online, and there they will find information about the opportunities like the one behind us that are there for them.
Exactly. Go on our website, the Montgomery County, Maryland Board of Elections. You find out where the sites are. We have 10, all the way from Damascus down to Silver Spring. Find a site, convenient to you, come vote.
Did you want to say anything? We need to wrap up, but did you want to say anything important about the logistics, about the machinery, about what to bring? Is there any information you want the public to have?
you don't need ID. If you're registering to vote for the first time, you do need ID.
So you can do that?
Yes, you can do that in early voting. However, I don't want people to be scared of the new machines. They're very easy to use. It's a paper ballot. It's scanned, so we have a paper trail and an electronic trail. It's exciting. It's easy to use. Come out and vote.
Jim Shalleck is head of the Montgomery County Board of Elections. Thank you for the great welcome. We appreciate your being here today. Jim Shalleck, head of the Montgomery County Board of Elections. Joining us now is Ben Gertis. He's with the Donna Edwards for Senate campaign. Ben, it's great to have you here. Let's talk first about just the early voting opportunity that we have. You don't have to wait till Election Day. You don't have to vote during a certain hour because it's, 10 in the morning till 8 o'clock at night. What does it say to you that there was a line of people this morning when the doors opened and when the process began?
Well, I think one of the nice things about Maryland is that you're in a state that is looking to expand voting rights and voting opportunities for people. So having early voting locations all across the state, open for a week, really giving people the opportunity to vote when they want and where they want. It's very exciting and different from what we see in a lot of states around the country.
Why should Marylanders choose Congresswoman Donna Edwards to be their next United States Senator?
Because I think Marylanders are ready for a working family person to get into the United States Senate who can understand their experiences, who's lived their experiences, and who's legislated on their experience. Someone who's delivered after-school meals to students in need, someone who's fought to hold insurance companies accountable for unjustifiable rate increases, and someone who's expanded educational opportunities for women and communities of color all across our state.
There's some commentary about the race. People are saying there's an interesting decision people sort of have to make about whether you want ideological purity or you lean more toward a sense of working with and trying to find compromise with an opposition that you might revile or it might not be your cup of tea, but the idea being that to get stuff done, you've got to sometimes compromise or talk with people on the other side, as opposed to the very satisfying, I have my position, I'm going to have that and that's it.
Yeah, I think that's sort of been a false choice that's been set up about this race. I think what Donna has said consistently is that she has and will work across the aisle with Republicans when it comes to things like funding NASA. But what she won't do is compromise on her core principles. And that means she won't cut a deal to cut Social Security. She won't cut a deal to exempt the National Rifle Association. And she won't back corporate free trade deals that ship Maryland jobs overseas. It's not about an unwillingness to work with the other side. It's about a willingness to stand up for your core values and principles.
There's an ad on TV produced by a super PAC that is supporting Congresswoman Edwards. It features President Obama. The subject is the Second Amendment. Should the White House, in what Politico described as an unprecedented move, wants the ad taken down, do you know whether that ad will come down?
I don't. What I can tell you, though, is that the underlying claim in the ad, and this is a claim that we've made throughout the campaign, is that in a campaign finance bill several years ago, Congressman Van Hollen, in order to pass the bill and gain Republican support, created a carve-out for the National Rifle Association. What does that mean? That means that if that bill would have passed and gone through, the National Rifle Association would have been able to continue secretly buying off politicians by spending money in elections. Donna opposed that bill. Chris Van Hollen supported it, and it's an important distinction between the two of them, because if you think about the National Rifle Association, this is an organization that fights any gun policies, gun control legislation, and attacks politicians, including the president, who support gun control legislation.
Ben Gertis is a spokesman for the Donna Edwards for Senate campaign. Thanks very much for stopping by. Great having you here. With us now as we continue with this special edition of News Talk outside the early voting center in Silver Spring, Catherine Leggett, wife, of course, of Montgomery County Executive Ike Leggett. You are supporting Congressman Chris Van Hollen in the Maryland Democratic Senate primary. Tell us why.
Because Chris is the most effective person that we have in our state to be the next senator of our state. He is passionate about the democratic values. He's inclusive. He works across the aisle. And he votes right on every single issue that is important to our community in the democratic space.
What do you say to people who are, because this is a Democratic primary, so you're talking to Democrats about the Democrats running for the party nomination, take on whoever the Republicans and the Greens, et cetera, nominate in the fall. Some people will be like, I hate those other people. The more you talk to them, compromise with them, it just perpetuates them. We need to be as progressive as possible. don't waste your time talking to folks across the aisle.
Chris Van Hollen is progressive. Let's be really clear about that. Every issue that he votes on is a progressive issue, and he does the right thing. In Congress, he must, and we must, compromise. We must work across the aisle to be effective, to make things happen, to do the right thing. The division is not good for our state or for our nation. And so it's really important to talk, collaborate, push your points of view, and to be effective. And Chris is, in fact, effective. He's also very inclusive. I mean, one of the things that I care so much about Chris Van Hollen is his ability to make things happen. And this has been consistent when he was at the state, when he was in Congress, and now when he's going to be our next senator. He's good on education. He's good on environmental issues. He's good on gun control. I mean, everything that you'd want a Democratic senator to be, he absolutely positively is.
As we wrap up, part of the direct appeal from Congresswoman Edwards and her supporters is that we can count on the fingers of one hand the number of women of color who've been in the United States Senate. At a time of incredible diversity in the nation, we've got an amazing lack of diversity in a very important part of our democracy, the U.S. Senate. She could change that. She could be a +1 on that very small number. What's your thought about that?
Clearly, we would want a person of color and we'd want a woman, but we must unequivocally vote for the right person, the person who can make things happen, who is effective, who has the record of showing that there can be a difference made, and he has done that. And so this is not a race about gender or color. It is a race about who is the best candidate in Maryland to be our next senator, and that definitely is Chris Van Hollen.
Catherine Leggett, a supporter of Maryland Congressman and U.S. Senate hopeful Chris Van Hollen, the wife, of course, of Montgomery County, three-term Montgomery County Executive Ike Leggett. Thanks very much for stopping by. Great having you here today.
Okay.
We really appreciate your time. Good seeing you again.
Have a good day.
We'll take a break here. When we come back, that amazing hearing on Capitol Hill, barbs flying between members of Congress and leaders of WMATA. And joining us to talk about it is Washington Post senior regional correspondent Robert McCartney.